And are you refreshed? Good. Now what?
Hello. So I was just talking to my friend, and I was sharing him a story that I want to share with you. About 6 months ago, I was in a relapse, I was with drugs and alcohol. But anyways, that's not, I'm just telling you what that was. And I was dealing with a neighbor, and he was annoying me. And so I went back home, and
So what's a relapse? A relapse is where you make a little ground, and you're holding it pretty good, but it's not really steady ground, and so it slips. But then, do you relapse all the way back, or do you just slip a little, and are you in a better position next time?
That.
Yeah, for sure. We just thought it'd be worth really appreciating the benefit of that motion forward, and how relapse is not a bad thing. It's a calibrating thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And so,
So you're in a bad mood.
I'm in a bad mood. And I go home, and I'm like, Abraham Hicks, annoying friends. Because that's what I do. I'm like, Abraham Hicks, and so it pops this video, and I lay down in the sofa, and you're not talking about friends. It was about something else. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let it be, And so you're talking about a moment where you want to see Abraham. And yes, Esther wants to see Abraham. And
we said, of course you do. That's why you keep your eyes closed all of the time, afraid that you might see us.
But I believe in this video, Abraham, or they said, no, you're not ready for us to see. You're not ready to see us yet. And you kind of rendezvous for a while, and then they finally say, yes, we're ready for you to see us. And they said, close your eyes. So I closed my eyes because I was like in the moment. And then you opened your eyes, and there were fireflies.
Room full of fireflies. Energy.
So I opened my eyes, and my screensaver on my TV were fireflies.
Yeah. Child's play. And if the universe can deliver that for you, aren't you just happy to think about all the things that are possible for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Those are the cooperative components all coming together. Your days are full of those kinds of things if you're in a position where you're receiving them, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, really good.
So here's the question, or, about 8 years ago, I started getting like repetitive thoughts, and they weren't really, they're like pretty dark, and I was like, they felt really strong, and I was like, why am I going crazy? What's going on? Why am I having these repetitive thoughts?
You calibrated to that vibration, and you were getting them from that track, yeah?
Right, and I didn't know of you or really anything much of anything.
Most people don't know about law of attraction, and most people don't study gravity either. They just fall off of things.
So here I was, right?
That's a good way to learn about law of attraction, too.
Yes, so here I was 8 years ago, I'm going crazy, I'm going crazy, I'm going crazy.
That'll drive you to drink.
It did. It did. And so what's happened is now, 8 years forward, and I know more, right? And I know of you, and I'm paving my way, and I realized that I created this 8 years ago, and now in my life here, it's like it pulls me into these thoughts and these, and they tell me, or OCD, it's just your thoughts, and so that pulls me right into the darkness again, it's just.
Let's just contemplate from this point today all of those things that you lived and all of the things that you've been thinking about, and we're appreciating the words that you offered just now. But let's put it all into context right here and now. So that pile of humanity that we talked about are really just in two piles. In this moment, under the influence of Source, or in this moment, under the influence of something else. So it doesn't matter what you were doing or what you were drinking or who you were talking to or what influence you were under. It's enough for you to acknowledge you weren't under the influence of source and that law of attraction is a real thing. So whatever you've got going on, you're going to attract to you. You may have heard us say earlier today, we said it once or maybe twice, that some of the first things in this attraction process that come to you are thoughts. You're attracting thoughts. You're not just attracting people and situations, you're attracting thoughts too. We visited with a woman one day who was upset because she was afraid to drive across the bridges in San Francisco. And she'd lived there for a long time, and her fear was new. But it was severe fear, so strong that she wanted to lay on the floor of the car. It was really hard for her to be in the car on the bridge. So she said, "What's happening to me?" We said, "You've picked up on thought forms." Well, she didn't like that. That made her feel vulnerable for a moment. And she said, "What do you mean?" And we said, "Well, all kinds of people are driving across the bridge. Some of them like it, some of them are inspired by it, some of them are frightened by it, some of them it's just same old, some of them it's the first time they've ever been on the bridge." And at this particular time, there'd been an earthquake not long before, and one of the bridges had fallen and crushed some cars and killed some people. So people were nervous about the bridges. And we said, so the thought forms, all kinds of them, are all over the bridge, just like this bubble that we're talking about you moving around in. There's all kinds of potential that you might rendezvous with. But we said to her, we didn't have this good analogy then. The question is, what's going on with you that makes you pick up on those thought forms? Because she didn't used to. She used to go across the bridge. Those weren't the thought forms she picked up on. What's changed? What's activated in you that's causing that to be the stream of thought? And you got to know, a bridge, there's a lot of streaming thought on a bridge because there's so many hundreds and thousands of people that are crossing it and having emotional thoughts when they do so. She said, "I know what it is. My neighbor was burglarized, and I've been going to these neighborhood watch meetings, and we're trying to figure out whether to put gates and walls around our community, or whether to get a night watchman, or whether to put bars on our own windows." And so we said, can you see how your neighbor being burglarized and your conversations with all of them has activated a vibration of vulnerability in you that didn't used to be there? And now you're driving across the bridge with this newly active feeling of vulnerability and picking up on a stream of thought forms. That's how it works. You're not going crazy, you're attracting by virtue of the thoughts that you've got going on. That's why we're not saying to you, you can all of a sudden change all of your thoughts, but we will never say to you that your thoughts aren't attracting to you. They always are. So when you find yourself in the midst of a thought that is unpleasant or uncomfortable or scary or frightening, it might be a good idea for you to just ask yourself, where's that coming from? What have I got going on? What matches that I've been perpetuating? Because it seemed to her, it seemed to the people even in the audience that day, that if she's not thinking about the bridge, then the bridge should not be scaring her. And we said, it's not about the subject, it's about the vibration. The subjects are varied. In other words, wonderful things can come to you from endless subjects, and things you don't want can come to you from endless subjects. But you've got to calibrate your thoughts to emotions. Your emotions are your response to your thoughts. You've got to calibrate to things so that you have control over the genre. It's sort of like Pandora. You can tune to Love Gone Bad songs. You can tune to marching band songs. You can pick how you want the mood of the music to be. And that's what you're doing. You're picking through your deliberate thoughts of how you want the mood of your being to be, because those are the thoughts that you're going to pick up on. There is no source of evil. There is only light, and you personally depriving yourself of it. That's all that there is. But we get it when you are well-meaning and you are not calibrated to the light, that the darkness would feel like it's imposing itself upon you. The darkness is just the absence of the light. And what man wants to call evil is just the pinching off of the good that is right there, pressing up against your ability to receive it if you would just open the door and let it in, you see. And you wouldn't want the law of attraction to treat you differently than everyone else. You want the law of attraction to respond to your thoughts. And you want your emotional guidance system to give you an indicator of how your inner being is synced up or not synced up with that. And once you've got that, then you can accomplish anything. You can feel however you want to feel. And we're not saying that you might not occasionally be blindsided by something that you didn't see coming, but that's because you have vibrations going on that you weren't aware they had going on, and they had to manifest before you saw them. That's what we call post-manifestational awareness. You've got thoughts, they don't feel good, you don't notice, they don't feel that bad, you're still alive. It's like this cold won't kill Esther. She just wishes it would. It's not that bad, but we don't want you to put up with anything that doesn't feel good, you see. But sometimes you're willing to experience more discomfort than we would if we were standing in your physical shoes. Is that helpful, or you have something more you want?
No, like I know that when I'm having those thoughts, like I know it feels like, like icky, you know, my compass is like telling me like, this is not what I want. And so I think you've answered what I needed to hear.
Really what we want you to think about is getting out ahead of it. Because if you wait until a manifestation, now you're responding, and it's very difficult. But if you're out ahead of it, then you've set the tone, and the universe has to respond. The people in your world have to respond. In the very early days, one of the first analogies that we offered, we said, envision a light board, a board with LED lights all over it. And it's big, it's the size of this stage. And you are one of those lights. So think about something. Think about something you want, or think about something that happened. Just pick some subject and think about it. And when that happens, that light's gonna light up. And every light on the board that is in harmony with that light will light up too. And that's your world right now. That's your world. That's what you've got access to. If you're ornery, it doesn't matter how many well-meaning people are out there in the world, they're not in your world. They're on a different station right now. But if you've been basking, if you've been acknowledging your value, if you've been feeling your advantage in the world, if you have been deliberately milking the feelings of love and appreciation, imagine what's lighting up on your board. And when you go out into the world, that's who shows up with you. You make eye contact with the person who smiles, and you stand in line with the person who is pleasant, and you put your seat back in the lap of somebody who was willing to play with you. Yeah. Esther used to carry, long before she met us, a cartoon that she'd clipped out of a newspaper, because she was flying a good deal even then. And it was a cartoon of a man on an airplane laying right back into the lap of the person behind him. And the person behind him is looking over the seat and saying to that person, comfy? So Esther just waited for somebody to put their chair back in an obnoxious way so that she could just slip them this cartoon. It never happened. She was always too happy when she was flying, but.
So my last thing on that is, I know that I can't erase my past of that ever happening, because
you wouldn't want to. Oh, you wouldn't want to. That beautiful, dynamic, life-giving, vortex-filling past that helped you to sift and sort and decide and calibrate to who you are. You see, you've been calibrating all through all of it. You just didn't know it. Otherwise, how do you know when you don't want something? Because your inner being doesn't want it for you. Your inner being's always been with you, and when something happened, your inner being was focused here when you focused there. That's how you know. So that beautiful past has created this magnificent vibrational reality for which you are truly blessed. So you were saying? Don't want to erase your past, want to understand it, and want to see it for what it is, and want to reap the benefit of it, and want to take the pleasure from it that it gave you. The past was when you were planting the fruit, and now the fruit is gestating, and soon you will be eating it. But you don't want to condemn the planting part.
I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Really good. Second row right here. Yeah.